Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Blake the Book Eater here, and today we're going to talk about all the books I'm planning on reading in April. So, before we get into the video, make sure to follow me on all my different socials down below, because why not? Okay, so for today's video, it's going to be short, it's going to be sweet, I hate planes. Now, I kind of talked about in my last TBR that it's not going to be as much a TBR as much as this is what's on my radar for the next month, so I don't have to have a rigid TBR. Well, for this month, I actually do have to have a rigid TBR because of certain things that I have planned, which I'll talk about in this video. Yeah, my schedule has kind of locked me down, and I have to do a lot of reading for this month. So let's get into it. So at the end of last month, I just finished reading the Six of Crows duology. So what's next? Well, The Language of Thorns is what's up next. It's a set of like fairy tales set in the Grishaverse, and this is by Leigh Bardugo. And this, I believe, ties into the next duology, which is also on the TBR for this month. So this is really, I started reading this, and it's pretty interesting so far. We'll talk more about this in my wrap-up. So after Language of Thorns, I am going to read The King of Scars, the first in the King of Scars duology. This follows Nikolai from the Grisha trilogy, Zoya from the Grisha trilogy, and also Nina from the Six of Crows duology. I know next to nothing about the plot of this book. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just really excited because, as you guys have seen, I really enjoyed the Grisha trilogy, and you know, I read the Six of Crows duology years ago, and I love that, and rereading them just, you know, emphasized how much I love them. So reading kind of this brand new Grisha story is going to be so interesting. And I'm reading all these Grisha books because I want to read them before the Shadow and Bone series comes out at the end of April on Netflix, which is just a couple weeks away. So I kind of have to speed read these, and it's a lot. But anyways, so the next Grisha book that I'm reading is actually another short one. It's called The Lives of Saints, and it kind of details the backstory about some of the saints in the Grishaverse before the Grisha trilogy and also after. And so I'm reading this after King of Scars because apparently there might be some small King of Scars spoilers in this book. So just to be safe, I'm going to read in publication order and read this after King of Scars. And then next we have the brand new Grisha book, and I believe this is the final book in the Grishaverse, is what I've heard some people say, so that's terrifying. And so Rule of Wolves is a direct sequel to King of Scars, and it kind of wraps up the stories of Nikolai, Zoya, and Nina. And the whole Grishaverse? Maybe? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about the King of Scars plot, so I don't know where this book is gonna go. Other than that, Monica has been telling me that she has been crying over this book, so I'm kind of terrified to read this, but also excited. And so those are the books that I am reading next because I have to finish them up before the show starts, just because I want to be as informed as possible when I'm doing my reviews for the show. And yes, I'm going to do a episode review for every single episode in Shadow and Bone, as well as a series review. So that's about 9 videos that's going to be coming out the weekend of the show's release. So be prepared for that kind of barrage of content. I'm really excited, and apparently you guys are really excited too, because my trailer reactions for Shadow and Bone have done so well, and so I want to keep feeding you guys with Grisha content because it's good. So, and the next book I will be picking up is the Vintage Books and Wine Book of the Month, and that is The Death of Vivek Oji by Kweki Emeze. And this book just, I'm scared. I'm so scared of this book, just because Elias has told me that it will utterly destroy me, and from what I've seen, I am a very emotional reader, as I'm sure you guys are aware, and so just because of, like, this is a short book, but I am expecting this to be covered in my tears. I don't know much about the plot other than that it follows the death of Vivek Oji in kind of this small town, this small village, and kind of the events leading up to his death or after his death. It's about death. And I think kind of like the reactions it has on his family, I think. I don't quite know. Like I said, I mean, these TBR videos are weird because there are some books where I know a lot about them just because I've heard so much about them, and I feel like I know part of their plot before going in. But honestly, if I know I'm going to read a book, I try not to go as into the summary or the plot as I normally would, because it's like, if I know I'm going to read it, I'll just like talk about it after I read it, you know what I mean? So sorry if this is not as informative as it should be, but yeah, I basically, if you want to get me to read a book, talk about how the book made you feel, and that will make me decide whether or not I want to read the book. Some plot summaries will grab me and make me want to read the book, but honestly, if you tell me how a book made you feel, that will convince me more than anything. And so the next book is for the Expanse read-along, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. Now, if you guys weren't aware, I did an announcement video a couple weeks ago. So me, Kaz, Joel, Katie, and special guest Catherine are going to be discussing Leviathan Wakes on the first kind of weekend of May. I will let you know the kind of date and time. Keep updated. Follow the Twitter account to the Expanse read-along. But so if you guys didn't or don't know about the Expanse, it is a science fiction series very much kind of in the vein of, I don't know how to say this, but I think the best way it was described to me is kind of like Game of Thrones in space. It's also this Amazon TV show. Well, it was on Sci-Fi, and then it got canceled, and then Amazon picked it up, and so it's having its 6th and final season coming out next year, and the final book in The Expanse, the 9th book, comes out in October, I think. So we are going to be reading one book of The Expanse every month and talking about it at the kind of beginning of the next month. So April's pick is the first book, Leviathan Wakes, and this kind of follows these members of this crew as they discover something sinister and possibly extraterrestrial. The cool thing that I love about the Expanse's kind of world is it's divided into 3 main factions. You have Earth, which is extremely overpopulated, and it's not doing great. And then you have Mars, which is a very militarized society because their whole kind of cultural motive is built around terraforming Mars. So they are very rigid, they are very technologically advanced, and very disciplined. And then you have the Belt, and the Belt is just kind of everybody who lives in the space stations out in space, and because of that, their bones are not as dense and more elongated, and they have their own kind of mishmash language, because they're, a literal melting pot of all different societies and cultures that they've created their own. And so it's just really intriguing, and because they're not taken seriously, they're not taken as seriously because they depend on Earth for food, water, and air. So they are very oppressed, and not all of them enjoy that. So there are terrorist factions, and the way these 3 factions, Earth, Mars, and the Belt, interact and are in kind of this cold war with each other is so fascinating, and it's so well done. I've already read the series, or most of the series. I haven't read the newest one, obviously, because it hasn't come out yet. But so I'm really excited to reread this and kind of get into thoughts with my other co-hosts. So now the last thing that I'm reading in April is honestly such a throwback. So if you guys don't know Gavin, please go follow him. He's wonderful. He reads a lot of middle grade content. He's like the king of middle grade booktube. And he's just a wonderful person. And so he released a video reading the Edge Chronicles. And that completely unlocked the memory of me reading the Edge Chronicles in my brain. And so I was talking to him about it, and we're actually going to be buddy reading the Twig saga together next month. But first I have to catch up and read the trilogy that he read like a month and a half ago. And so that is the Quint saga, which is made up of The Curse of the Gloamglozer, The Winter Nights, and Clash of the Sky Galleons. Now, this trilogy I think was published after the Twig saga, but they went back and so chronologically this is first. So that's why I'm going to read it in order. There's like 13 books in this series, but it's made up of like little trilogies following each character, and then each subsequent series kind of follows the descendants or kind of the relatives of the people in the trilogy before. And this world is so interesting. It's very fantastical. It's the Edge is like this massive cliff kind of overhanging who knows where. It's like, it's huge. It's here, I'll try to the pictures in here. Also, this book is like fully illustrated, like completely fully illustrated, and I love that so much. But yeah, so this world is so crazy and insane, and oh, here it is. So this is what the Edge looks like. It's very quirky. It's very cool. And there's sky pirates. There's insane creatures. Also, this series, from what I remember, because I read this part of the series when I was a kid. I didn't read all 13 because I don't think all 13 were out, but I definitely read the Twig books. I don't remember if I read these books, so it'll be interesting to see if this unlocks things in my head. But the series is very dark for a middle grade. Like, it's the creature designs are pretty disturbing at times, and because of the pictures you see it in a weird way. It almost reminds me of the scary stories to tell in the dark, like, you know, like those creatures that stick in your head and you're like, ew. Like, that kind of disgusting creature design is also present in here. Not saying this is a horror series, not at all. It's very fantastical. I mean, you have sky pirates and like floating cities. It's very cool. And because these are middle grade, I think these are going to be a really fast read. So I'm going to blow through these so that next month I can read the Twig saga with Gavin. So I hope you'll join me for that. Oh my god, I cannot believe I almost forgot to mention this book. So I finished listening to The Blade Itself, which, if you guys weren't aware, is the first book in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. And you can see my thoughts about it in my March wrap-up, which is coming very, very soon. But so I started listening to the second book, Before They Are Hanged. And this book is really cool so far. We follow our main characters from the first book, and now Glotka is in charge of kind of like investigating to find a traitor in the city and also in charge of its defenses. And then we have Logan and Baez and the gang kind of like going on their adventure. And so like this book is just like so good so far. Also, I love the narration. This audiobook narrator is probably one of my favorite narrators that I've ever heard. He makes voices for literally everybody, and they're so distinct. Like, every single character has a different audiobook voice, and it's so cool. It's amazing, and I love it so much so far. So I will be listening to this. I don't know if I'll finish this in April. I might listen to it through May, but just know that this is something that I am listening to just kind of when I can. Now, that is all the books that I plan to read in April, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Chanel and Alana because they sent me these books. Chanel sent me Wicked Fox, and Alana sent me Amari and the Night Brothers. These books are I'm so excited to read these books. These books sound so cool and have been on my TBR for the longest time, and because of them, I now have them in my library. So thank you guys so much, and they will definitely be popping up on a TBR video very soon. And that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching this TBR, and I hope you guys will join me for my April wrap-up at the end of the month, because I have to finish reading all these books. So your boy is gonna be very stressed until he actually finishes them. So let's hope he does it in time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to see more of my videos. Also, yeah, and let me know down below what you're planning on reading this month. Are you reading any of the same things? Are you joining me for the book club, for the read along? Who knows? I would like to know. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.